Hi, gang. Mean Gene Okerlund from WWE. And hey, you're listening to another wrestling podcast.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. I'm Credo. This is episode 197.
And I'm back, and this is Minority Mike.
Where the fuck you been, Mike? Jesus
I've
Christ.
been, pulling my pecker.
Oh, listen,
tugging. Hey,
infringement.
no, you didn't even let me finish. I was going to pull a plug for you. I'm pulling my pecker for the angry one. No, that doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean.
Well, that escalated quickly.
It's not pulling, it's tugging. Tugging my pecker.
All right, well, it's not copyright because I'm pulling it. So long, I got to pull it,
Oh my goodness. Well, don't tug your pecker, kids. We're gonna keep on rolling. 197. Joining us today, we have an author on by the name of Lavie Margolin. He's the author of Trump Mania, Vince McMahon, WWE, and the Making of America's 45th President. He's going to join us today, talk a little bit about the book and where you can pick it up. So stay tuned for that, guys. We're on our way to episode 200. Who knows what's going to happen, but if you haven't heard us before, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. There's a lot of shows on there you could check out, listen, a lot of things you could find on that website. A lot of things are happening, guys. We're on that way to 200. It's a lot of shows. Some people record every day and they rack up shows pretty fast. We do once a week when we can. And 200 shows, man, that's over 3 years now of just talking to each other each week. And so on and so forth. You guys ready? Can we break this 200 barrier? What are we doing?
Yeah, it is a lot of shows. I hate you guys. Let me just throw that out there right now. I hate all of you. Credo, I hate you. Mike, I hate you. And fuck you guys. I quit.
Well, we almost made it to 200. Wow.
I'm looking forward to episode 200. I wonder how it's going to be. Now, my question is this. You know how, WWE, how they do, with their anniversary shows, they always have the old timers come in and job out the younger guys or the new guys. Do you think Jonathan Benjamin is going to put me through a table or something?
We could see that. Maybe we'll have some surprises from the past, present, and future. We'll see what we can do for 200 for you. So keep on listening. We were off for 2 weeks. We came back last week. We're here again this week. Mike, you were away for 2 weeks. A lot of stuff has happened in the time you were away. Anything you want to express? Maybe something that you want to just get off your shoulder that maybe you didn't get a chance to the past 2 weeks?
There's a lot going on in the world. There is too much going on. How Raw is a different world from SmackDown. You guys covered it last week. Cooter, fuck you. I heard what you said about me with the Chad Gable thing last week. Okay, it's not my fault. It is not my fault that the fucking writing staff.
Sleeper, bro. He's a sleeper pick,
He
bro.
is a sleeper, but unfortunately, the writing staff is sleeping. That's what's going on right now on Raw. Bring him over to the SmackDown. I guarantee U.S. champ. U.S. champ. Jesus Christ.
They weren't doing shit with him on SmackDown either, bro. They
He was.
that was supposed
Well,
to be his moment. Oh god.
They paired him. They got rid of Jason Jordan and they had to pair him with another black guy because they thought it was appropriate. He had those great one-on-one matches though. One with AJ and one with Rusev, and then all of a sudden he gets packed up and shipped off this fucking Raw, where I had my fingers crossed, and now he's in the hallway talking to Finn Balor about the Women's Revolution pay-per-view, or Evolution.
You know what's so great about this is you had such high hopes for him, and you fucking jinxed him. And you know what? I'm going to personally reach out to Chad Gable and blame Minority Mike, and hopefully he blocks you on Twitter.
That wouldn't be the first time I've been blocked. We haven't even established, Cooter, where are you driving?
I'm driving from an undisclosed location right now.
You got a little of the grown-up soda going on?
I'm driving, Mike. I don't do that.
Well, early.
Listen to this guy trying to get me to admit to felonies. I'm fucking... dude, seriously? No. I'm driving home from Westchester visiting some friends and shit. And I stayed a little bit later than I would have hoped. But you know what? I'm here for the fans.
There you go. You a little segue with Jason Jordan, not to make light of it because ear injuries are serious. He was supposed to return in July. He's been cleared, I think, to return. But as reported by the Meltzer, he's saying that Jordan's neck injury situation after surgery is worse than expected and that he's not returning at the present time. So he might not even come back, who knows, anytime soon. So Jason Jordan's going to probably be out for a little bit. And I don't know, guys, are you happy about that? You're not happy about injuries, though, right? It's who knows what happened to him.
Oh, I'm sure you're fucking happy about it. You said that with a smile on your face. You popped hard for that shit. Because I know Jason Jordan is on the list of Credo, for Christ's sake. But you never like to see anybody injured. But you know what they say? Hey, like father, dad had a bad neck, now Jason's got a bad neck.
Ah.
And now because of that, what you just said, WWE's listening to the podcast, and they're just going to green light in the writing staff. Going to use that in the daddy-son angle. Thank you. Thank you for writing 3 weeks of their television.
Did you guys hear, this is just breaking today, Colt Cabana is going to sue CM Punk for legal fees, requesting over $1 million in damages. This is reported by the Chicago Sun-Times. He's filed suit for breach of contract and fraud in regards to their legal battle against the WWE and Dr. Chris Amann. In the documents, Colt claims Punk promised he'd be 100% covered in their fight against the defamation battle stemming from the 2014 podcast interview on The Art of Wrestling. But not long after the lawsuit was filed in 2015, the two wrestlers retained the same lawyer and signed an agreement asserting all bills would be sent to Punk. However, in 2016, Punk suddenly demanded Cabana help with the growing charges. And yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of other information on this, but Colt Cabana, he's asking over $200,000 in general damages and $1 million in punitive and explanatory damages. Yada, yada, yada. Well, a lot of shit to say about that. But guys, friends, foes, Colt suing Punk. What do you think about this?
Oh, but those two were like the best of friends, and you see what happens when money gets involved, and when you ruin somebody's, like, not reputation, I want to say, but just put somebody who isn't as financially dependable as like a Punk is. It kind of sucks, because like I said, they were really good friends, and like I know what it is. I know what it feels like to lose a good friend, and it sucks. So I'm sure this situation doesn't make it any worse. But damn, this is like, this is it, man. This is the main event of All In Chicago, right here. That'll end the ring.
Oh, you hate to see some shit like this happen, because that was such an awesome podcast. It was a surprise out of nowhere on fucking Thanksgiving. We all went ballistic when we heard it. Everybody was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. And now you kind of almost wish that it didn't happen, just because I hate to see true friends fight over something that was actually such a great interview. And again, money and friends just don't mix, and it fucking sucks. It just sucks, dude.
But between both of these guys, I mean, Punk was pretty much, he pretty much has some money stashed away from the WWE and even the UFC. I mean, he had some money coming in from those fights that he had. And poor Colt Cabana is working the indies. I know he's not making bank like Punk, but I don't know. Do you think Colt should be paying as much as Punk for this? Or, I don't know. I mean, it's a he said, she said, but who has more money, who has less? I don't know.
I see, that's the thing that I hate about fucking lawyers and bullshit. Everybody gets fucking sued over stupid shit. Enough is enough. I mean, the fucking guy got butthurt because he wasn't doing his job, and by that I mean the doctor. You didn't do your job, obviously. You fucked up, and then somebody aired you out. So his main beef should be with Punk, not the guy who published the information. It's kind of like what's going on now in the world of social media. You know, people are getting banned because they're publishing information. It's kind of stupid. Does Colt Cabana have to bear the responsibility for what CM Punk says? how it works, and it just bothers me that he would even be involved with this lawsuit. All he did was interview somebody. So the fact that he's in this lawsuit to me is ridiculous to begin with.
I just hope they settle it and just get this done and over with. Like, I hope it doesn't get real ugly. And situations like this can get very ugly if they let it get that way. So I just hope that and I hope they settle out of court. Damn well if they go to court with this, you're gonna have Dave Meltzer out there with his reports. He's gonna be right in there.
All right.
It was a 5.5-star court case. Oh shit.
All right, guys. Well, Renee Young is set to make WWE history this Monday. She is going to be replacing Jonathan Coachman on Raw, and I kind of think this is almost like the Booker T move where they took out David Otunga. Remember when they said he was going to leave he's shooting a movie for a week, and then 5 months later Booker T's still on the Raw commentary? So I'd be surprised if she doesn't replace the coach on commentary, unless it's kind of like a little bait and switch kind of thing. I don't know. But anyway, she is going to be making history this Monday as calling commentary alongside Michael Cole and Corey Graves. This will be the first time a woman has called all 3 hours of Raw, if you will. So this is kind of like in the history books for them. And with WWE's Evolution pay-per-view on the way in a few months, I think this could be a permanent move for her. I think when she was first hired, I thought they would be putting her on commentary, but they kind of just made her the backstage interviewer, if you will. But, guys, do you think this could be a permanent move for her?
I'm going to go on a limb and say no. No, it's not happening. She's only replacing Coach. She's not going to take over for Coach. I don't know where Coach is going. We don't get the word of the hour this week, which sucks. And I say that sarcastically. If those of you who don't know, every hour Coach says a word, and it's the word of the hour. Commenting team's horrendous. So maybe, Renee actually gives it, a breath of fresh air, but she's not going to stay there.
I want to agree with Mike. I like her on the pre-shows where she kind of mediates between that panel and asks the questions and passes it along. So that's a completely different role than being a color commentator. She's not going to be doing play-by-play like Michael Cole. She's not experienced in that sense. I could see her, maybe as a color commentator, but it's a different role than what she's been doing as a backstage and basically the head of that panel that they do on the pre-shows for all the pay-per-views. So I want to agree with Mike. I don't think it's going to be a permanent thing, but you don't know. She might actually be good. So let's see where it goes. For some strange reason, when it just comes to women and commentary, it turns me off, and it's not a misogynistic thing. Like, I could see it when it's during a women's match or something like that, but it's like my girlfriend screaming in my ear that it's dinner time or some shit. I just shut up. Hey, fold my shirt.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Like I said, anything could happen, I guess. But the whole David Otunga. I remember going to be shooting a movie for a week, and then Booker T pretty much took his job, and David Otunga never came back. So maybe it was one of those moves where they just kind of wanted to write him off, and I don't know.
If she sucks on commentary, Credo, if she sucks, they could always use my idea from last week. Bring Dean Ambrose back and just have her punch her in the mouth.
Oh my goodness. Well then, that's an evolution right there for you. That could happen, maybe. I don't know, in the angry land, but we'll see. Now, Mike, explain this whole Daniel Bryan contract situation, because at one point I thought he did resign, but he hasn't resigned. What's going on with Daniel Bryan, and could he jump ship or leave? I don't know.
As of right now, the clock is ticking. It is August 9th as we're recording this, and I'm sure when you guys are listening to this, it's going to be beyond August 9th. That contract, Daniel Bryan's, expires September 1st. He has not put pen to paper yet. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's holding out for a better deal. I don't know if he's actually not going to re-sign. I'm sure Vince is going nuts right now. And if you do see him get squashed at SummerSlam, then you know for sure he has not re-signed. Because they're not going to give this momentum to him if he's not re-signing. It's just not going to happen. I would love to see Daniel Bryan on the indie scene. I mean, there's so many great matches, and he could probably, live a longer and better life and a better career on the indie scene. But the way the WWE takes care of him financially, they cover all that stuff. I think the WWE might be the best move for him. Not only that, his wife is still employed in the company. And also, they just re-signed to do season 4 of Total Divas. Total Divas. So it might be a little awkward if Daniel Bryan didn't re-sign,
Total Bellas,
but he's still on the show. I don't know what's going on with that. They better hurry up and get their these offers to him, because if they let Daniel Bryan go, then that's a fucking mistake on the WWE, because he can easily help ROH sell out that Garden show, which we'll probably get into later today. I mean, that's a huge loss on their part.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think Billy Corgan wrote an article or did an interview with somebody telling about how WWE kind of like wastes a lot of wrestlers. I mean, Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor. Look at fucking Finn Balor. We're using Finn Balor against Baron Corbin at SummerSlam. Like, that's the best we could think of. We're coming to a point at one point in time we had so many wrestlers. Or we didn't have enough wrestlers, right? So they had to, get a lot of these indie guys. And then they got NXT. And then they just started, flooding NXT with a lot of the top stars in the indies. And now it's like, okay, well, when did these guys move up from NXT? Okay, well, there's no room right now because you still have active competitors on there. And it's almost like there's just so much talent they don't even know what to do with. And then the guys who are really talented, who should be pushed, they don't even push them because they're still fascinated about having Roman Reigns pull that wagon, if you will. So guys like Daniel Bryan should be at the top and always at the top of their food chain, but it's almost like they don't know what to do with him or with his situation. And I hope he resigns, because WWE is probably the best place for him. But seeing him in Ring of Honor or seeing him in New Japan, that would be one hell of a deal, especially if WrestleMania is coming around. And I know we're going to talk about it in a few minutes, but with the whole Ring of Honor, could you just imagine Daniel Bryan competing at Ring of Honor at MSG WrestleMania season? And that would be incredible. But who knows what's happening? A lot of injuries we talked about. People.
Wait a minute.
Oh, passing.
You guys are fucking crazy. You've lost your fucking mind. I think it would be the greatest thing for him to leave, especially if he's already signed on for another season of Total Bellas. I mean, the potential, I don't want to say cross promotion, but like the fact that Daniel Bryan would be on the road with another company, and it's not like they haven't used footage from Ring of Honor on their network, or they haven't used footage from TNA on their network. They could potentially build this up as a storyline, and even if he goes just for the short term and works the Indies for six months to a year, just to come back and really build him up. Like, again, absence makes the heart go fonder. I mean, I don't think they would ever be smart enough to do this, but if they had the right writers and they did this right, this could be probably one of the best storylines that WWE could ever have if he doesn't resign.
Well, he's not signed to Total Bellas or Total Divas. The WWE is signed for another season, so they could just scratch him off. It's not like you signed for the season. They could just be like, no, we're not even going to have anything to do with him. That's what it is. We'll still take care of the Divas and Brie, but we're not going to go and watch you fertilize your recycle your manure like they do, whatever the fuck they do in Arizona. But there's so many potential dream matches for Daniel Bryan outside the WWE. But if he stays in the WWE, like, what do you do with him after he resigns? Do you build it up to where he can be the main event at WrestleMania? Like, what is there to do? Because lately, I mean, when he came back, like I thought big things. And granted, that match at WrestleMania, I mean, he was taken out of the match for like a good 10 minutes, I want to say, where Shane was left by himself. And that match was okay. It wasn't great. But then right off of that, he was fresh right into a feud with Big Cass. And that was a horrible feud, if you want my opinion. And then from there, we got the Team Hell No reunion, which I thought they were going to put the tag titles on them and kind of kill some time, but they scratched that very quickly because, somebody had to go become a mayor someplace. And now what do you do with this guy? I mean, this feud between him and The Miz, this should have been a WrestleMania feud, and they had all the pieces to the puzzle to build that to WrestleMania. But due to the fact that this contract's expiring, like they're going to strike while the iron is hot with this feud. They have no choice because Daniel Bryan might not even be re-signing.
Yeah.
So does Daniel Bryan even go over?
Mike, you're crazy. You talk about all the potential feuds that he has outside of WWE. What about the ones inside of WWE? I mean, we got to see a brief match between him and AJ Styles.
I'm not saying that's not going to happen.
Program with those two. Of course, but we would love to see him and Nakamura as well. I mean, there's a lot of... That's one of the main reasons why he wanted to come back, and probably one of the main reasons why Nakamura came to WWE anyway, is for that dream match.
Yeah, there's so much stuff, but if he doesn't re-sign, we'll never see that match. So it's like a double-edged sword for us. It's like it's good if he doesn't re-sign, but it's good if he does re-sign.
Now, you brought up a good point, though, too, is that I would have thought the Daniel Bryan Miz match would have been WrestleMania, and granted, they could still have a WrestleMania rematch, or whatever, another match. But yes, SummerSlam is the second biggest show or whatever of the year, and there's kind of a lot of flops on this card this year for SummerSlam, and having Daniel Bryan versus The Miz is kind of nice. But still, maybe it's almost like if he isn't re-signing, what better way to send him out than this kind of Miz match? I don't know. I would have waited and built this up for Mania, but I guess they needed something with a little oomph behind some of these matches this year. But we'll see what happens. Just a few weeks away from September, so stay tuned for that. Last but not least, Aleister Black out of NXT Brooklyn match. He had some ball surgery. He's on his balls, but they didn't do that on NXT. He got beat up in the parking lot because, granted, getting beat up in the parking lot is a better story than you had surgery on your balls. So I forget what exactly it was. Something with his testicles. Something happened. Something ruptured or something. He had to get it sewn up or whatnot.
His nuts.
His nuts. Whatever the exact happened. But he's out. But guys, is this kind of like a blessing in disguise? Because for Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, this match kind of had to be a one-on-one match. I mean, throwing Aleister Black in there, is that just the... I don't know. It didn't really need it. So is this kind of like, I don't know, I think it's like a blessing in disguise that he doesn't even have to be in this match now because those guys probably almost outshine him out of the championship. I don't know.
I think that, I mean, it was weird. If you guys watched NXT last week, you saw the crowd reaction to when Aleister Black kicked Johnny Gargano. The crowd loved it. And I think that just shows how much heat Tommaso Ciampa has. This one-on-one feud, in my opinion, I mean, it would have been great to have Aleister Black in there, but this is by far my favorite feud of the year right now. It's an old-school blood feud between these two. So I don't think they need it. And it's a last man standing match now that they announced. So which makes it, a little more intriguing and a little better because the only winner will happen. The only way a winner will happen, is you literally have to beat the shit out of him. So they had to add something to it for the loss of one of the competitors being Aleister Black. So I'm okay with this. I am because, like I said, I've been enjoying this feud more than anything as of right now.
I'm actually happy because I really dislike Aleister Black as of late. There's very few people who can get an emotional response out of him that actually makes him good on the mic, like Tommaso Ciampa. And I agree with Mike. This is an old school blood feud. They had to add another stipulation. There had to be like a last man standing. I was kind of hoping that they would do that and all be all to all feuds, and they would have just put this in a fucking Hell in a Cell. I thought that would have been the way to go. Obviously, they have a separate pay-per-view for Hell in a Cell, so they're not going to. And I think that's coming up in a month or two, if I'm not mistaken. But I know it's on the schedule somewhere, but it's got to be relatively close, because I think that would have been the perfect way, especially at SummerSlam weekend, to have a Hell in a Cell between those two. But I mean, these two are going to tear it down. I'm looking forward to being in the building to see the culmination. These two versus each other, one-on-one for the belt. I think Aleister Black would have just been an afterthought, just because of the way that this story between the two is. It's literally a blessing in disguise. It was a way to get the belt off of Black. He got hurt, and here we go. We're off to the races. No more boring Aleister Black. I'm not impressed with him whatsoever anymore. I mean, he does a couple of cool, flashy things, but he can't cut a promo. In the ring, it's mostly kick, and and I'm going to sleep.
Well, now, do you guys think it's Gargano's time to shine, finally capturing the NXT Championship at TakeOver?
You know what? I don't know, man, because I kind of like Tommaso Ciampa with the belt. I really do. And I mean, granted, like if Gargano wins, this feud can continue and go into, if they ever decided to do a Hell in the Cell with NXT. I don't think they will, but I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. But this would, I think either way, the feud might continue. It is one of those things where, like, they can probably do it at the next TakeOver, which I believe will be in November. But other than that, like, I mean, it would be a good storybook ending for Johnny Gargano to get that moment in Brooklyn with all the smart fans. But at the same time, I won't be disappointed if Ciampa walks out as champion, because he's got that natural heel heat. And him with that title, I think that was the best move Triple H has done, was put that belt on him. I'm the most hated man in the company right now. The biggest heel in the company, in my opinion.
I gotta agree with Mike on this one, and I hate the fact that you basically said everything that I want to say. I mean, he reminds me so much of, like, Kevin Owens on Twitter, shit talking. He's like the greatest troll. He makes me want to watch and see, because of the fact that I follow him on social media and I see all this shit. And he got such a great reaction from that fucking crowd. Again, you're right. He is probably the best fucking heel in the company. Not just on fucking NXT. I'm saying the company. And, man, if you take that belt off of him now and you just make him transitional champion, I was just never a fan of that. And Johnny is one of these guys where the fans are always going to love him no matter whether he wins or loses. He's one of those guys, like Bruce Pritchard says, doesn't need it. Doesn't need the belt. It would be great for him to win. Doesn't need it. Ciampa can fucking do so much more with that belt than I think Johnny Gargano can.
Well, okay, if he doesn't win, I mean, there's only so much for Gargano to do, I guess, in NXT after this. Do you think one of these guys moves up? I mean, do you think it's good for Gargano to move up without Tommaso yet after SummerSlam, if that's the case?
I pray to God nobody moves up.
After what's going on.
Just stay. Stay as long as you can. Remember Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
or no, Billy Madison.
Yep.
When the kid was like, I can't wait to go to middle school, Billy. Stay as long.
Don't you ever say that.
That's how I feel with the NXT talent. Just stay. You don't need to go. It's fine. You just stay in NXT. You're good.
Well, that pretty much said it, guys. Well, a lot of things that happened this week. We do have an author coming on right now. The author of Trump Mania, Lavie Margolin, is joining us right now. All right, joining us today, we have on a good friend of mine, author of Trump Mania. If you guys haven't bought this book, head on out and buy it today. We're going to give you the links where you can buy it and find out a little bit more about the author. Lavie Margolin is joining us today. Lavie, man, how's it going?
Everything's going great. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for taking the time out today. So, Lavie, man, I've talked to you probably a few months ago. I read your book. For everybody that doesn't know out there, I'm sure everybody knows out there. So, everybody who's not a wrestling fan, who has no idea that what Trump did in the WWE, then come on, it's 2018. You should know by now. But let's just get into the basics of what inspired you to write this book, Trump Mania.
So the inspiration came early on in watching the 2016 election, or the run-up to the election, as Trump was such a fascinating character no matter where you stand on the political spectrum. As I would watch the debates with my wife, as a big wrestling fan, I couldn't help but pointing out to her when there were certain points where I said, oh, that's from wrestling, or that's from wrestling. So, for example, the ability to really command a crowd, to wait for applause, to assign easy nicknames to opponents that would really stick. So as the election came through, and of course President Trump was elected, we were really taken aback by the information and really almost consumed by it for a few weeks and a few months. And in speaking to a friend about different book projects, one of the ones that I mentioned was this idea for Trump Mania. And he got so excited about telling this story about Donald Trump and his relation to professional wrestling that it got me even more excited. And as a big fan, of course, I was aware of many of the touch points of Donald Trump being involved in wrestling, which I'm sure we'll talk about, such as WrestleMania 4 and 5 and the Battle of the Billionaires. But as I did more research, the more that I found, and I thought it was a really fascinating story.
Nice. Now, a little bit about wrestling, too. Some people compare Vince McMahon to Donald Trump. Do you think that's an accurate comparison?
I think there are a fair number of comparisons. Of course, coming from a similar generation, both having parents in their specific genres. Of course, Donald Trump growing up in a real estate family, Vince McMahon not meeting his father until many years later, but coming up as a wrestling magnate. So they had that pedigree, having both being very driven people, some would say difficult personalities. They expect a lot from people. And one of the key factors where I think that they're similar is that they've both accomplished a lot in their own right, but it somewhat gets overshadowed for two reasons. One is because of their family connection, so people may assign their success easily to that. But I think for both, it's unfair to say that. And secondly, at times they've become sort of the butt of jokes, where just Vince McMahon's over-the-top wrestling promotion, it's somewhat hard for some people to take seriously, not us as fans. And for Trump, as he's lived his life out loud, somewhat, for example, being in several scandals in the newspapers or having casinos that might have failed, for whatever he accomplishes, there's that point that brings them both down to earth, and it's hard to get respect even as billionaires. So together, they prop each other up. It's easy to get respect from one another. So that's an easier way for them to connect with one another.
No, for sure. Now, I always tell people, because I work in the news industry, and I always tell people, when I leave work, I'm either watching cartoons or pro wrestling, because I'm trying to escape that world of politics and reality and whatnot. But can any wrestling fan enjoy this book that's maybe not into politics or such?
Yes, I think it's something that really Trump threads through 30 years of wrestling history, especially the growth of the WWE. I'm a wrestling fan first. Honestly, I didn't even really vote, maybe once or twice before recent elections. Just Trump becoming president made me much more informed and following the news. But I wouldn't say I'm a political person by nature, but I love professional wrestling, and that's why I enjoyed researching the book so much, that you could find little tidbits that might have been forgotten or lost to history. One of those that I found really interesting was that there was actually a professional wrestling event that took place between WrestleMania 4 and 5 at a Trump casino in Atlantic City. That was Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
That's right.
At the time, it was a lower profile event, It was just a free event for high rollers at the casino, where there was postcards distributed inviting people to come down. But now with Glow, Netflix, and it having a higher profile, it's just an interesting piece to look back on.
No, definitely. Now, also, too, with politics on the side, would someone on either side of the political spectrum enjoy this book, or is it kind of leaning too far to one side, would you say, or how would you explain that?
I believe so. I think at its core, the objective was to tell the truth, to tell the story as it is, to look at the information and present the facts as they are. The feedback from most people has been that they found it very fair, and they had leaned to both sides. I think I admit that I do sort of foretell my hand that I can be a little bit snarky at times when revealing information. For example, I may say something like referring to a Russian character and saying Russia would play a bigger part in Trump's history at a later point. So somebody can really pick out where I stand. But it really is, I believe, a fair book from the feedback that I've gotten. Sure.
Now, besides Trump, what are the wrestlers that might have a bigger spotlight than others in the book? Anybody we can mention who else you talk about?
Sure. One of the wrestlers and wrestling personalities that really stands out is Jerry Lawler, for a number of reasons. One is that he is a huge Donald Trump fan. As of the writing of the book, and when I checked, as of about 6 months ago, even on his Facebook page, it was him and Donald Trump as his profile picture. He's somebody that's not afraid to sort of voice his support of Trump. And he's also somebody that's been involved politically with the WWE at a number of points. One of the most interesting points that the book reminded me about that I had remembered watching many years ago was that some, just because it was such a close election, credit the WWE with helping to sway the 2000 election, where they had the Smackdown Your Vote campaign, and it was promoted as bipartisan. Whoever you want to support, please feel free to do so. And then the night before the election, the Hardys were facing the Right to Censor, which was a group that was trying to suppress people's freedom to do whatever they wanted. And Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were directed to make comparisons between that group and the Democratic Party, and saying who they would vote for the next day. It's very interesting to look back on history in that way. One more personality that stands out is, of course, Hulk Hogan. Certainly, WrestleMania 4 and 5 were built around Hogan in the sense that in 4, it was a storyline that planted the seeds for WrestleMania 5, where, of course, Randy Savage would win the title at 4, and Hogan would kind of push himself into the spotlight a little bit, sowing the seeds for their confrontation at WrestleMania 5. But as things went on, Donald Trump witnessed the most patriotic WrestleMania 7, where Hulk Hogan defeated that turncoat, Sergeant Slaughter. And then years later, Hogan would be asked who he was voting for, and he made a pitch to be Donald Trump's running mate. So he threads throughout the story at many points. Probably most significantly is Jesse Ventura, who his surprising run to governor may have been an inspiration for Trump, and Trump actually hit the campaign trail for the future governor. I had at least one documented case where he was a guest speaker in Minnesota at a rally on Ventura's behalf.
Oh, I never knew that. Interesting. Now, you mentioned earlier too that how wrestling might have, played a part of his campaign, to where giving guys nicknames in the debates and whatnot. But how do you think Trump's participation in wrestling maybe helped him to become president? Do you think it kind of set him up the groundwork for just being on TV, trying to be, larger-than-life subject, if you will, on a wrestling program, now trying to be a larger-than-life subject for the world? Do you think kind of wrestling maybe had a hand in that, the wrestling world?
Sure, I definitely believe so. I think, of course, it depends on somebody's perspective. For example, if somebody's a huge fan of reality television, they may be able to sow a corresponding narrative. But from what I understand about professional wrestling, it's about living larger than life, standing out from the television screen, understanding what audiences want to hear, being able to project yourself and be memorable. And these are things that he watched from not only from the front row, but also participating in the Battle of the Billionaires and being the owner of Monday Night Raw. He really got to understand audiences across the country and really how to play to them. So I think that was sort of the most important lessons that he learned that carried through to really standing out during contentious debates and seeing like somebody fresh and different than what people were used to, which I think really helped him. He was just different. In the same way, on the other side of the aisle, Bernie Sanders was different as well in the opposite ways, but people just wanted a change.
No, for sure, definitely. Now, what would you say to the research? What research findings struck you as maybe most interesting while you were doing the book?
One particular piece that really interested me was a 6-month period where Vince McMahon had used one of Donald Trump's hotels, actually, a crown jewel of hotels in New York, as 2 separate press conferences. The first press conference was to announce the World Bodybuilding Federation. And 6 months later, there was a press conference to defend himself against steroid allegations. So that really showed me that Trump and his resources was a great way to not only announce positive information, but also a way to defend himself in a comfortable location. The WBF was another interesting sort of offshoot in itself, that one of the first events took place at Trump Taj Mahal, and Trump was there in the front row. So those little tidbits were really interesting. Besides doing a deep dive into the tentpole events, I like the little events in between. For example, I found a wonderful picture of Trump and Melania when he was just dating her, and they were sitting in the front row of Madison Square Garden during the Attitude Era, and you could see Gangrel standing on the top turnbuckle spewing the fake blood, and Trump is watching and laughing, and Melania is recoiling. I think that is the first and last pro wrestling event that she ever went to. Although his children often go with him to events, I think she had enough. It reminded me of often when people are first dating, you kind of show an interest in whatever they're interested in. Somebody might say, "Oh, I like baseball," so the other person might say, "I like baseball too," and want to go with you to the events. But I think even that was too much for her.
Well, there you go. Well, what would you say too has been the feedback on the book so far? Because I'd imagine it's interesting when you approach a subject like this one.
It's been great so far. I would say 95% positive. What was great was when I was just sharing it in appropriate groups on Facebook, there was like 19 out of 20 people would say, "Oh, that's so interesting, that's great," and 1 out of every 20 people would be like, "I want to use it for toilet paper." So I would say, go right ahead. You can order it on Amazon. So,
exactly. Buy the book, and then you can do whatever you want with it.
Right. It's America, freedom of choice. But I really enjoyed hearing from people, as I mentioned, across the spectrum, where somebody might say, "Oh, I'm very concerned about the current political environment, and your book really helped me to learn X, Y, Z," and where I might have somebody sort of be curious about the title and ask me to say, "I'm, a conservative person. I support X. Would I like the book?" Say, "Give it a try." And their feedback is, "Yeah, I really learned a lot too. And, I now understand this and that. So it's wonderful to hear that, and to give kudos to Box Brown, who had illustrated the cover and the images in the book, and is also the author of New York Times bestselling Andre the Giant graphic novel. I always hear positive feedback on his work, which the only credit I could take for that is being lucky enough to connect with him and him agreeing to contribute those pieces.
Definitely. Box Brown is a past guest we had on a while ago on the show. Great guy. What would you say now? Trump Mania. People can find it online. I know we got to tweet Trump this. Make sure he knows it's out there. Just make sure he gets a copy of the book. But for fans listening out there that have heard about this, where can they find it? Where can they get it? What are some links that you could tell everybody to purchase?
Sure. All signs point to Amazon, so the easiest way is to go to Amazon in whatever Amazon you use. So it's across the world, and you can just type in Trump Mania. If you prefer, you can go directly to tinyurl.com/TrumpManiaBook, and you can reach me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions over Twitter. My handle is Lavie Marg, LAVIE MARG.
Well, Lavie Margolin, thank you so much. Thanks again to our guest. But, we always talk a lot about WWE. We never talk Impact, and for obvious reasons, but kind of this year, 2018 has definitely been the year of Ring of Honor. I think outside of WWE, they've definitely been holding their foot to the pedal, if you will, from All In, especially the announcement with the G1 Supercard special happening next year, WrestleMania weekend at Madison Square Garden. Ring of Honor is definitely doing a little bit... going far above and beyond a lot of other promotions out there, taking over MSG. Now, granted, All In is not a quote-unquote Ring of Honor show, even though it has a lot of Ring of Honor talent. But still, I know it's just independence, the resurgence of the independent scene, especially Ring of Honor. But guys, what do you think about this? I mean, even this week we had the MSG show sold over 9,000 tickets during Wednesday's pre-sale for the MSG show, which is pretty much going to sell out this week, any time, any moment now. If you're listening to this, it's probably already sold out. But between that and All In, these shows kind of giving us something different than what WWE is. What do you think's happening? I mean, 2018, if they put this together with All In and now the MSG show, do you think something else is going to happen 2019? Because if they get a good TV deal, that could be a good second competition, no, for WWE or competition for them.
It's going to be a wrap. Listen, we're experiencing a boom in the independent scene where, the WWE, they were never concerned about competition, but now, I mean, you have three guys who put an event together because Dave Meltzer said they would never sell out a 10,000-seat arena, and they bet $1 on it. And this arena, the 10,000-seat arena, sold out in less than a half an hour. This shows that the fans are fully supportive of the independent scene, and they're sick and tired of what's going on in the WWE with the people that are supposed to be the big dogs. I'm not talking about fucking Roman Reigns. I'm talking about the actual big dogs of professional wrestling. This show, I mean, the card that they have together right now is fantastic, in my opinion, and I love the independent scene, and I think they have an all-star caliber roster for this show, and they're not even done announcing matches yet. There's still guys that haven't even been announced, like a Kenny Omega, which there's a rumor that it's going to be Kenny Omega versus Pentagon Jr., which that is going to be the fucking match of the night if that's official. Wow. Yeah, that's the rumor. It's not official yet. People that are listening to this, they might have made that announcement by now, but as of right now, they have not made that announcement yet, and if they do, that's going to be an amazing match. But the card is so great for All In. And WWE needs to sit back and really think about, they need to really get their shit together with this lazy booking that they're doing, because this All In, it's not going to be the first time this is going to happen. I can guarantee it, because it's just so great, and it's going to steal a lot of the fans eventually. And then, like you said, if they get a big TV deal, like let's just say TBS decides to say, you know what, let's try this wrestling thing again. Let's sign Ring of Honor. Let's see what they can do. You know, the fans that don't have Ring of Honor in the area or can't find it on syndication will see that there are going to be, let's just say, Monday nights. You know, not for nothing, Raw has been terrible to sit through. It feels like a chore. But if you give me Ring of Honor on a Monday night, I'm going to tune in because I know I'm going to get quality stories and I'm going to get quality wrestling. And
Sure.
that, I'm one of the millions.
Cooter, now, question to you. Do you feel like WWE is kind of like in that Duke the Dumpster, Doink the Clown era again, especially with like the Bludgeon Brothers, and they're starting to get silly again, I think, almost in certain aspects of some of the characters, to where because they don't have any competition, so I feel like you got Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon just doing that old shit again, and do you think they need this competition to maybe, I don't know, make WWE great again?
Oh, absolutely. And, we always laugh because, the fans are, you know what, I'm going to cancel my WWE, subscription and my network and all this. And we're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Everybody was laughing at these kids. You know what? Eventually, people are going to get tired of being told what to like and who to cheer for. Especially a lot of their performances have been lackluster and just atrocious. I mean, for how many years are you going to try to force feed somebody down your throat? And if the ratings aren't telling you, yeah, this isn't working, regardless of the fact that you're making good money on TV deals, what's going to happen when your next TV deal is up? Granted, I'm sure that's a long ways away. But, if your ratings are dropping, your show is going to be worth less money. When it starts hitting them in the pocket and people stop tuning out and they're not drawing fucking advertising money, and dude, some of the best talent in the world they've accumulated over the past couple of years. And granted, some of these guys are shining. Guys like AJ Styles, Nakamura is finally coming around. But this is SmackDown. Your flagship show is the shits right now. And the fact that you have rival companies coming into your territory on your biggest weekend and are going to sell out big name buildings. Red flag. This isn't just a sign of bad WWE booking. This is a sign of the fans saying, you know what, no more. This is what we like. This is what we want to watch. The more exposure that these guys get and the more shit booking that we get from WWE, eventually you're going to start to see those tides turn. I'm not saying we're going to have a WWE versus WCW, but I guarantee you're going to have some good competition and a good war on your hands because your hardcore cult wrestling fan base has had enough of your big dogs and have had enough of guys like Brody Lee. And I'm going to call him Brody Lee because I fucking Luke Harper and fucking Bludgeon Brother makes me want to pull my hair out. This is a guy in Ring of Honor who was awesome to watch. He was awesome as a singles wrestler. He had a great run. The list goes on. It's not just guys like him. But this competition is going to be either really, really good for WWE and they're finally going to have to get their shit together, or they're just going to fucking not care and just keep collecting their checks.
You bring up checks, and it's crazy because they did get that $1 billion deal, and they got their money, so now they're just coasting. I don't think they're looking in the rearview mirror to see these other companies that are literally were a year ago not very close, but now they are right up there. And what was the last company to give the WWE the run for their money, like to sell out arenas in their area? Or just to even threaten fans. It was WCW. And WCW did give them a run of money. And WCW made WWE better. It made them a better product to watch because they had no choice. They had to adapt. Now we're watching Raw, and we're pulling our hair out trying to get through this 3 hours of Raw. And it's painful. But now you have All In that's about to happen, which that's going to be a huge buy on pay-per-view for fans. And then, as you mentioned, Cooter, you have them going in the arena that the McMahons ran. His father, Vincent Sr., ran that arena. It was just the fact that they're going in there and taking their spot and are going to sell out on the biggest weekend for the WWE. It's mind-boggling. It really is. And I think they need to just take a step back and look at what they're doing on their product and kind of see what's going on outside of their product and start putting pen to paper and getting shit going and understanding that they need to step their game up or they're just going to fall behind like they did back in the 90s.
I do want to point out, too, for you guys, so now it's almost like we need a changing of the guard sooner than later for WWE because the XFL is coming back in 2020, and I know they've said Vince is kind of going to be focused more on that behind the scenes, so we're going to get close to that pretty soon. And 2019 is probably going to be a busy year for Vince, so at that point, I think their best bet is to get rid of Vince, Kevin Dunn, go home, Triple H, man that ship. I really want to see what a Raw, SmackDown, and NXT would look like under the helm of Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Call him Quadruple H, right? Under the helm of him. So,
you bring that up, and I heard on the fabulous interweb that the reason why SmackDown has actually been watchable and the storylines have been great and TV has been good was the fact that Vince hasn't been on SmackDown. He hasn't been there.
Yeah.
He's on Raw. He hasn't focused much of his attention. He goes home after Raw. He doesn't go to Tuesday nights. I mean, and allegedly, that's a rumor. If that's true, I mean, that's a precursor of what we could see in the future.
Mm.
I want to make mention of something too. When it comes to the WWE programming, they're throwing the wrong shows ahead of other shows. Has anyone else noticed the fact that on Tuesday nights they keep pushing the Miz and show, and that's airing directly after SmackDown on USA? What about 205 Live?
Yeah.
You've been fucking putting them on the back burner on your network, not even promoting them because you're too busy promoting a show on the USA network. Really? I mean, that makes no sense to me. It's a reality show that no matter what, certain people are going to watch and it's going to get some ratings, but you're not going to push the show that people have to pay you extra for to watch that airs directly after SmackDown. And I don't care what anybody tells you, it's arguably the best live show that they do every week. It goes back and forth with SmackDown 1 and 2. Raw is atrocious. And the fact that you're pushing fucking... What is the name of the Miz show ahead of 2? It makes me want to punch a baby. I'm stealing Credo's line.
Yeah, it is bizarre. Triple H I think took over 205 Live too, and that's been really great. And they haven't even featured any of those guys on Raw at all too, because they do want to make you watch the show, watch it all on the network. But
I think I'm going to be good without having to watch like an 8-man cruiserweight tag match.
They haven't
every week.
Those, Mike.
I'm talking about every week on Raw. I mean. That's what they did every week on Raw. Is the Cruiserweights would be in an 8-man tag. They'd be in this tag match. And I think it's good to separate them. But like you said, Cooter, I haven't seen any 205 Live promotion on Raw. SmackDown will do it because they haven't done it lately. No, they haven't done it lately.
Mike, they haven't been on SmackDown because they're literally promoting the Miz show.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they stopped doing it once they started promoting the Miz's show. The only good thing about Raw this week was that Heyman promo. Other than that, it was atrocious.
Oh, God.
And then everything after that is just bad. So I'm kind of happy they keep the 205 Live guys away from that brand. But like you said, at least promote it. Like let people know that, hey, we have this other brand. They do a decent job promoting NXT. What about 205 Live? And then you wonder why people are leaving when SmackDown is over. Gee, these guys can't get over. What's going on? Geez, pal, how come these little guys can't get over? Because you're not giving them the tools to get over. That's the thing.
Well, guys, how about this? With the rise of All In, Ring of Honor, do you see, with the success that's going to come out of this, because it's already a success, it's sold out, all the fans want to go see it, all the diehard wrestling fans are all in for all of this. Do you see Cody Rhodes going back to WWE? Do you see the Young Bucks ever going over there? Because I know they signed like a new 3-year deal, I believe, or something like that with Ring of Honor. Do we ever get those guys back in WWE? Or with the success off of this, do you think, hey, they could probably build up Ring of Honor and make it that competition that's going to be the better wrestling show than what WWE is giving us? And I don't know, could this be the beginning of the real threat for them, I guess? I don't know. I don't see any of these guys just wanting to go back there and, play fucking dress up or, do all the goofy entertainment shit. Like, people want to wrestle. Give us some good...
Priya, here's the thing. You're right and you're wrong. The question to ask is this a fluke? Because wrestling fans are petty. So for them to buy all those tickets for the All In just to shove it up Dave Meltzer's ass is fantastic to me. And the fact that, they're selling out the Garden on WrestleMania weekend. All right. Are they going to be able to do that on a regular basis? Because that's going to determine whether or not guys like Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks are going to stay there for long term. If they build that company up and they can continue to do that on a regular basis, I don't know if they can. Because, granted, on WrestleMania weekend, you're getting people from all around the world, and you're getting all wrestling fans. It's not just WrestleMania. Mike, we did that special last year during WrestleMania weekend about all the different indie shows that are around. So Ring of Honor, out of any of those companies, is going to be the biggest company and the most likely to be able to sell out a show at WrestleMania weekend. Are they going to be able to do that, in the second week of February when nothing's going on? If they can, those guys ain't going back. But this is their opportunity to make it happen. It's going to be do or die at All In, and it's going to be do or die at WrestleMania weekend.
For sure.
I think that the All In pay-per-view and their show at the Garden will help catapult them to that level. Like, granted, it might not happen overnight and it might take time, but if the WWE continues to write piss poor shit and then they continue to just keep booking this horrible crap, and then the indie promotions like a Ring of Honor or even like All In too, if they can get that national exposure so people can see them and pull that fan base in, and the more people they pull in, maybe they can get that casual fans. They have Stephen Amell wrestling on All In. That's going to pull in a lot of the casual fans. I'm not going to say like a giant amount of casual fans like a Ronda Rousey or anything like that, but it's still going to pull in the fans of Arrow.
And media too, man. For me, working in the news industry, that's a story right there for me. An actor being in the news, like that's for me personally. We're not going to cover just any old wrestling show, right? There has to be a story behind it. Having an actor actually wrestling in a match, that's a big story. That's like national news coverage right there for you, just for that match alone.
Huge. And to answer your question, do I see Cody going back to WWE? No, I don't. And the reason why, because he has everything he needs outside of WWE. Right now he's wrestling Nick Aldis for the NWA title, a title that we thought was dead. It was gone. There was a 50-year-old guy holding that belt, and Nick Aldis took that belt and he rejuvenated that title, and that title actually means something now. It was being defended in a gym of like 25 to 50 people. Now it's going to be defended in front of 10,000 people. And not only that, there's a huge story behind it. And I recommend everybody, if you don't know the story behind this match between him and Cody Rhodes, YouTube it. Look into it, because it's actually a really good storyline. You got Cody Rhodes, who's chasing the title that his dad had, that runs in his family. And Nick Aldis is actually a very good champion. And I think this is going to be one of the best matches. And I say one of the best matches because, I mean, that card is just amazing. And then you have the rumored of Pentagon Jr. versus Kenny Omega. I mean, but that match has more emotion behind it. And you can get emotionally invested into that match alone. Because I think that's the only match on the card that has a legit storyline. But it's great.
Even one of the funny storylines is Flip Gordon not being booked to where
That's great.
And that's like another like, oh, what are they going to do with Flip? Because it's like, you know, he's going to be on it, but how? What are they going to do with him? So it's kind of like one of those things, like it's like an ongoing gag, a run-on gag. So it's like, well, how does it finally end? So it's like another little part of the puzzle to where they get, you know, more interest in it. It's silly, but it's still, you want to see what happens to it at the end. And my guess out there, I'm going to mark it down right now in this episode, somehow Flip is going to be inside that bear costume, take his head off and do something. I don't know. Maybe could challenge Cody for the NWA Championship if he wins it that night. I don't know.
I think Flip Gordon wins the over budget battle royal and gets the ROH title shot.
That's even better. I like that idea too. But see, like little things like that, to where you have an actor, you have this little run-on gag of not being booked, and then all these other names. I'm gonna, man, and now they just also announced that it's gonna be on the Fight Network app, and I think they said the first hour is gonna be free. And then you could also, if you're a Ring of Honor member card, whatever, subscriber, you'll be able to get it too, or something like that. So it's good, man. I think it's great. They're doing all the right things, and there's no Bludgeon Brothers, so there's no stupid, silly bullshit gimmicks on this show. So I'm interested.
Not just that. I mean, StarCast that weekend is going to be fucking amazing.
Unfortunately, we won't be there, but. They're going to be missing AWP, but it's okay.
Gotta give Conrad Thompson a shout out for that shit. I mean, there's just so much that I want to see from that weekend on StarCast alone, and you can get that on Fight as well. I mean, it's a hefty price, but I think there's like 20
hours.
How many?
20 hours, I think they said.
Yeah.
Worth of.
I mean, they're having a roast of Bruce Pritchard. They're having a What Happened When with Shivani is going to be on there. There's all sorts of panels, like a Remembering Andy Kaufman. You have, the Empty Arena match with Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk panel. You have fucking, what was the other one? A War Games panel. They just have all sorts of shit. But that alone, for $79, and they give you a $20 credit. So you could probably put that towards All In as well. So it's just, it's going to be an expensive weekend, but I have to check a lot of this shit out.
It's crazy because there's, this weekend in Chicago, there's so much stuff going on. It's like WrestleMania weekend where they have shit going on all over the place. You have StarCast, that you have other things going on. They have karaoke with Marty Scurll, which I think is hilarious.
Now, guys, I mean, between All In, Ring of Honor, and MSG next year, if we skip ahead from All In and go to next year, WrestleMania weekend, the G1 special happening, I think the same night we said as the WWE Hall of Fame, I believe. If this is a success, and it's probably, I don't know, do you think they ruffle some feathers with Vince or whatnot of putting on a bigger show than what they were doing that weekend? I mean, do you think that Ring of Honor show is going to be bigger than NXT that weekend?
That Ring of Honor show is going head-to-head with NXT, not the Hall of Fame.
No, it's going up against the Hall of Fame. It's a Saturday.
No, Saturday night. NXT is Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I thought the Ring of Honor show was Friday. I was mistaken because they do the Hall of Fame on Friday now.
Yes.
But someone corrected me and told me that it was Saturday. And then I looked and it was Saturday. So they're going head-to-head with NXT. NXT is going to be in Legend. It's nothing official, but it's going to be in Brooklyn. And then you have the G1 special in the Garden. So they're going head-to-head. And WWE, they have some shit. I'm sure Vince is going to bug the fuck out once they announced that this Garden show is sold out.
Here's the
Triple H better put something good together.
Here's an interesting question for you. So, this Ring of Honor card, they tend to have a lot of New Japan guys on there, obviously, usually, right? Especially for a big show like this.
It's a joint production.
Yes. Well, if Chris Jericho is still fucking champion, is he on that card? And if he is, because he said he would never work for another company in the United States, Vince, huh? How about that, ladies?
And if Daniel
Nobody
Bryan,
saw that yet, but Big Daddy.
And if Daniel Bryan leaves, could you imagine Daniel Bryan there the same night? That's what I'm saying. Like Triple H, man, he's gonna have to have like Shawn Michaels returns for one night only or some kind of shit to happen to like counteract all the fans wanting to go there. And I mean, there's a lot of fans gonna be in town that weekend, regardless. But still, I mean, guys, what is it for you guys? How about just our personal opinion? NXT or Ring of Honor MSG? What are you going to that weekend? What would you want to go to that weekend if you bought the tickets right now?
Ooh, that's tough because I gotta
see the cards, bro. I would never. I'd never want to fucking go against NXT because it always delivers. I want to see who's on the cards.
And that's the thing, because people are buying tickets already for it. Just like, I mean, like Mania. Mania goes on sale in November, and it's like, oh, of course, you just go because it's Mania, and then you fucking get shit matches for it. I hate that. I wish the tickets didn't go on sale until they announced the card, too.
That's tough because, like, Cooter and I, we were at the first ever NXT Brooklyn, and just to be there, to be a part of that history was awesome. Yes. And this is the first ever wrestling show in Madison Square Garden not being the WWE and being Ring of Honor and New Japan. And that's history. So that is a big deal. Just, I mean, for a lot of fans would just want to go to that show just to say they were there, that they were a part of that history. And I'm a huge NXT mark, and everybody knows that. I'll choose NXT over anything. And just like Cooter says, like, you know, I would like to see the card, but at the same time, it's so tempting just to be there and to experience wrestling in the Garden.
Yeah,
that's not the WWE.
I'm going to be definitely looking at the crowd shots because I'm kind of curious. I mean, I think they're both going to be sold out, but still, I'm just kind of curious. You know, like, are they going to hide?
You're not going to have a problem selling either of those shows out. The question
it's going to be so hard watching at the same time.
I'll tell you something right now, man. I know one thing that the WWE is probably going to be doing. They are probably going to be drying out that indie scene. So by the time that Garden show happens, everybody's at NXT. And then you're just going to have Cheeseburger wrestling for their ROH title because they got nobody.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
The only thing that drives me nuts about those takeovers, aren't they only like 2 hours?
They've extended it. They've extended it to like 2.5 hours.
I would probably choose the Ring of Honor show just based on time alone because you know they're going to give you good 3.5, maybe 4 hours. You know they're going to.
But with the NXT, you also get the tapings before.
Yeah, but those are all the bullshit matches that they just throw in between a whole bunch of packages from what happened during the main pay-per-view.
Well, not necessarily. They had one taping match between Pete Dunne and Johnny Gargano for the War Games.
Well, it's interesting, though. Well, guys, you know, all in all, though, we're all in. We're going to be watching. It's definitely an exciting year, and I think 2019 will be even more exciting, depending what happens, I guess, around WrestleMania season. I don't know what else to say with that, guys. I think we covered it. Any last words?
Well, I know how to end this officially because Mike is such an indie mark. You best believe that when he's watching All In, he's going to be tugging his pecker.
Bitches?
I can't use that.
I did it for you.
Listen, if Tessa Blanchard is on the card, then, you know, maybe I could take a break. You know, clean my room.
There you go. All right, guys. See you next week.
The measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at
the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
They think they got the answers. I change the question.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
These are the best in the world, brother. These are the best at what they do.
When we talk about the legends of the sport, there's only two in my book.
Another
Wrestling Podcast.
Another wrestling podcast. Now can you dig that, sucker?